to accompany our guests, Mr. Bharat Bhushan and Mr. P.K. Agarwal to the dais. I request Mr. S.R. Nair, who is a charter member of TiE, as well as the MD of Team Frontline, to welcome the gathering. Sir.
It would be good if you can get your friends outside to come inside and sit. It's only for another 30-40 minutes that we will conclude the whole function. I also request the volunteers to please request the people who are standing outside, delegates who are standing outside, to come in. Chairman of the session, A.V. George, who is standing for the President, Ms. John K. Paul, who is not keeping well, so couldn't make it in the afternoon. Chief Secretary of Government of Kerala, Mr. Bharat Bhushan IAS, Mr. P.K. Agarwal, Chief Executive Officer of TiE Global Trust, Rajesh Nair, Executive Director of TiE Kerala, Wing Commander K. Chandrasekharan. Practically here it ends, the TiEcon second edition. Last year, actually we rode on Emerging Kerala. Soon after the Emerging Kerala happened here, we started. So it was a sort of a wave that we rode, and we have had close to about 1,400 people, delegates attending it. So we were initially thinking that we will do TiEcon every second year. Seeing the response as well as seeing the startup enterprises that is emerging in the state of Kerala, and also seeing the changes that is happening in the culture of Kerala, and also seeing the enthusiasm shown by the Chief Minister of Kerala in establishing Kerala as a startup capital of the state, the startup capital of the country, we had decided to do TiEcon this year, probably every year. And with that in mind, we also did the deliberations to find what went right last time and what didn't go right. There were many suggestions, and some of the suggestions were incorporated in this year's TiE. One suggestion was having a separate track on special interest group, and it was a very well attended and a successful track that we have had today. And the other was the pitch festival meant for startup enterprises or entrepreneurs who could come and pitch their project, and if possible get connected, linked, or to the extent possible of getting financial assistance. Both had concluded well. And we also had multiple tracks going on. Actually, at any given point of time after the inauguration and the plenary session, which happened the forenoon of yesterday, multiple sessions going at 6 different places, including this place. And at this place, we have been having mostly our deliberations were related to entrepreneurship. At other places, we have had education, information technology, women entrepreneurship, genomics, agriculture, and the like. Of course, tourism and healthcare included. And now, the culmination of events. In terms of the content, in terms of the conduct, we have every reason to be happy that things went well as planned. To the extent of the last session, which was a very successful and very content-rich session. In fact, a lot of takeaways for the entrepreneurs, including startups, as to how you succeed or how you block your failures. So to that extent, we are happy, but we may not be as happy in terms of the total turnout because we expected in excess of 1,500 people to attend the session. In a way, we are not disappointed because these sessions and the whole show was attended by people who really wanted to attend. And that really makes sense. There is no point in having people coming in here who don't have any interest in entrepreneurship, or if they don't have interest in the content of the sessions, and they are just part of it as passerbys or just travelers, there is no point. So I am very happy yesterday with a lot of deliberations and discussions that we have done. We identified and found out that a lot of people who had come with a lot of enthusiasm, sincerity, and with an intent of taking away many things from the deliberation that had happened here. I would like to now get into my duty of welcoming. We have, today morning, actually our Chief Secretary was supposed to be here for the valedictory function, but he came well on time before the start of the day. He was here with us. He participated in one of the IT main function that was happening here and took time to go and attend some official function. And he asked, what time should I be here at 4 o'clock? And 4 by the clock, he was here. Shows the commitment. You know about Mr. Bharat IAS, he had made his mark in very many functions that he had chaired in the capacity as secretary, collector, principal secretary, etc. And also his assignments at the central. Before him coming in here, one of the very crucial assignments that he had handled was as that of a DGCA, Director General of Civil Aviation. And all of us, he had made all Malayalis proud by bringing in yeoman changes into that establishment. I think he really deserves a wonderful round of applause for that. Sir, on behalf of the entire crowd present here and on behalf of TiE Kerala, it's a great warm welcome to you. We have the TiE Global Trust. TiE Global is represented by, in fact, both our global president, chairman, Mr. Ashok Rao. He had been here, he is here. And also accompanied by the executive director, the CEO of TiE Global Trust. Mr. Agarwal is a good friend of TiE Kerala. In the last session also, he had been here throughout. He participated in the session last time, and he would be doing his comments from a perspective of how TiE Global view the whole thing. We'll make a little change by making him do the presentation soon after Rajesh summing up because he has a flight to catch. On behalf of all of us present here and on behalf of TiE Kerala, sir, here is a great welcome to you, Mr. P.K. Agarwal. Rajesh, A.V. George, Casey, all our charter members here and delegates here, welcome you all to this valedictory function, and I would like to call upon MC to take it forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I now request Mr. Rajesh Nair, who is a charter member of TiE and Associate Director of Markets at Ernst & Young. All right, a slight change in plan because Mr. Agarwal has to leave right after. I'll just take 2 minutes to introduce him. He is the CEO of TiE Global. Mr. Agarwal oversees the development of programs and supports the goals of TiE chapters worldwide to advance the TiE mission of promoting entrepreneurship through mentoring, networking, and education. In his prior role, Mr. Agarwal was the Chief Technology Officer of the State of California since 2005. During his tenure, he successfully consolidated multiple independent IT organizations, saving taxpayers over $60 million. He also helped create an enterprise IT operation consisting of 800 professionals. As a national speaker on IT issues, he has spread the message of innovation with thought-provoking insights into the future of technology and the shape of things to come. He has over 25 years of experience in government technology, spanning both the public and private sectors. Previously, he held positions of Vice President at ACS Incorporated and Executive Vice President and Chief Information Officer for NIC Incorporated. He started his professional career as a management consultant for EDS Corporation. He has a bachelor's in engineering from IIT Delhi and master's degrees from California State University, Sacramento, and University of California, Berkeley. He's a much sought after speaker on IT social media, embracing the next generation and doing business with the government. So without any further ado, I request Mr. Agarwal to address the gathering.
Thank you, thank you. Good evening. Thank you for sticking around, this late in the day. Many of the speakers today talked about that to be a successful entrepreneur, one of the critical skills is to be able to present well, right? I mean, would you all agree that that's a very, very critical skill? And as she talked about my background, I started my career as a management consultant for EDS. And this is in the 70s when the video cameras were like this big. And so one of the things EDS did with management consultants is they would put you in front of one of these cameras and record you for 5 minutes, and then they make you watch it. Now that's about the point in time when you say there's no point living anymore. And that you know what happens when you watch yourself on a video. So anyway, I went through all this wonderful training, and my first big presentation, so I was in a sort of room with 25, 30 people, a little bit warm, feeling a little bit nervous, and as luck would have it, one of the people in the audience fell asleep. Now what do you do? I know we have so many very, very distinguished speakers here. Anyway, so I just said, well, maybe he's tired, he had a long lunch, you kind of make the excuse to carry on. But then he started to snore. So at this point, I know I lost the entire audience here. What do you do with this thing? So there was a nice young lady sitting next to this guy. And I said, look, would you please help and wake him up? And she said, look, you put him to sleep, you wake him up. So be kind to me. That's my beginning in this business of presenting. So I'm going to take about exactly 20 minutes for my presentation, so you can sort of time it. My favorite sort of advice to entrepreneurs, which I personally believe, it comes from Mark Twain. There was a French philosopher named Blaise Pascal, one of the US presidents, and they all wrote the same thing. They said, my apologies for writing a long letter, because they didn't have time to write you a short letter. And think about it, often we talk a lot because we don't think about what we're going to say. So anyway, that's my belief. So I'm going to talk about 3 things. I'm going to give you some sort of random thoughts about thinking entrepreneurially, and then encapsulates what we've been talking for the last couple of days. I'm a big believer in success of India. I know the last couple of years, India shining it's been tarnished. But I believe over the long term, India has a phenomenal potential for success. So I'm going to give you my reasons for doing that. And then I'm going to wrap it up with just a little bit of reflection to where the entrepreneurial opportunities are. So just a few little quips. My favorite entrepreneur is this gentleman, Christopher Columbus, because he started off not knowing where he was going, and upon his arrival not knowing where he was, but he did it all on borrowed money. I mean, that's the real entrepreneur. That's the way it should be. Another definition, while you guys were arguing about the glass half full or half empty, I drank it. I mean, that's the entrepreneur. So I have a little video clip that I want to share with you that sort of really, as a wrap-up of this 2 days of wonderful learning, kind of really gives you a little mental tune-up. A little bit now. Let me do this. I think we can. We'll run it off the top just one more time. I think if we start from the beginning, can you just restart that? Just go to full screen. Failure here. Okay, sorry about that. We're going to go with the plan B here. We're going to render it. don't you think that captures so well okay, so let's get back to the presentation is, okay, sure. So a couple of data points for you. A typical entrepreneur, 3.8 failures before final success. I love this Chinese proverb, that's the key to success. Fall down 7 times, get up 8. I mean, it's just that simple, you know. That's sort of the key to success. Now, here's a very, very interesting data point, and this is why I'm so bullish about entrepreneurship. And this is from a Kauffman Foundation report, and they studied for 25 years job creation in the United States. And what they realized, that over a 25-year period, the net job creation by Fortune 500 companies was 0. I mean, obviously some grew, some didn't, some moved globally, and these companies grew obviously, but they went where the markets are, where the suppliers are, and so on and so forth. So really, and this applies to all of the countries, the future of Kerala, the future of India lies in entrepreneurship. And that's why those of you who are entrepreneurs, want to be entrepreneurs, to me that's going to be where the future lies. So my belief is that the new Superman is not going to be the word S. We strike off the word S and we change it to the E for the entrepreneur. That's to me where the sort of future lies. And I love Richard Branson's quote about business opportunities are like buses. There's always another one coming. I mean, it's not like not like a wave that you lost the wave. So that's sort of the first part, to just give you a little bit of mental tune-up about the business of entrepreneurship. So let me talk about why I feel India over a long term has a very, very strong prospect. Now, of course, we can screw up anything, but generally the demographics and other trends are in our favor. So let me talk about the demographic dividend. I'm going to go through about 15 charts very, very quickly, so just follow me along. So this is an age pyramid. You notice that the working age, so it starts from, if you can't see all the numbers, it starts from babies at the bottom and old people at the top. And you notice that it's a fairly flat bottomed. And this is 2010. Look at China. They're starting to have their one-child policy starting to show. Look at USA. Problems started to crop up. Let's go 20 years ahead. India is still fairly flat at the bottom. And that's a good sign, which means you have a lot of working age people. Look at China. That whole started to work. And the problem is that when you don't have enough young people, you have a hard time supporting the old people. You don't have enough investment capital left at that point because so much is being consumed. Look at USA. So this is like only 7 years out. We're talking about 2020. Now let's go Japan. Is already showing huge amounts of problems. And Japan, unfortunately, is so averse to the idea of immigration that they can't even sort of bridge that gap at the lower levels. Now let's go about 30-some years out. Look at India. It's still fairly reasonable. Look at China, serious problems. Look at USA, serious problems. So this is what I'm talking about, that one of the biggest things that India has going for it is that having workforce. And workforce that's educated, that's talented, and it's going to be just like in the Industrial Revolution. The raw materials used to be, iron ore and various materials and all that. The raw materials of this, times is knowledge workers. So I think that to me is one of the main reasons I believe that India has a very, very bright prospect. And we're talking about opportunities on a Saturday evening, just for good humor here. I have a little clip for you of a newest business opportunity.
Increasingly, American parents are spending more time at work and less time at home. With the cost of nannies on the rise, many are turning to a new solution to their child care dilemma. Susan and Mark Andelman of Portland, Oregon, started sending their son Timothy to a daycare facility in India 4 months ago.
Well, it used to be quite a hassle in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Now sometimes I'm even able to just get him right into the
same problem. Sorry, we're going to run this the other way.
Increasingly, American parents are spending more time at work and less time at home. With the cost of nannies on the rise, many are turning to a new solution to their child care dilemma. Susan and Mark Andelman of Portland, Oregon, started sending their son Timothy to a daycare facility in India 4 months ago.
Well, it used to be quite a hassle in the morning.
Now sometimes I'm even able to just get them right into the box without even waking them up, so it's a lot easier.
Outsourcing Timothy worked so well, they decided to send their 3-week-old daughter Brittany to infant care in Sri Lanka. Though the wages earned by overseas child care workers would seem low to Americans, in countries like India, they are over 1 billion times the average salary.
It's only 12 cents an hour in India, which is a lot cheaper than the $300 I was paying a week here in the United States.
It's a big improvement.
Yeah.
Before he was acting out, a lot of yelling and screaming. Now, when we uncrate him, he's completely quiet.
Yeah, for like 2 or 3 days.
The system is not without its problems, however. In June, Patricia Nattings of Omaha, Nebraska, incorrectly wrote her zip code, causing little Kimberly Nattings to spend nearly 3 weeks lost in the mail.
I have to eat my own fingers.
Coming up next, are there bullets in your body? Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Okay, this is just to humor you on up late in the day. This is from The Onion, if you follow that. So I know when you heard the keynote from Ashok Rao, our chairman, yesterday, he was talking about India being at the bottom in many of these things. India is on top of a lot of things too. And one of the things that you notice that India is on the top is the whiskey consumption, number 1. So we are number 1, Ashok, in some things. That's in that. All right. We are also number 1 in consumption of rum. How's that? So, but seriously, we talked about this, the working age population on the rise, game changer, China working age population on the decline. And this is, again, working in favor of India. This is a chart that shows what's happening in China. They're starting to lose the working age population. But on a good news side, on a global innovation index, India is ranked number 12. And I think this is where the stimulus towards entrepreneurship and all of the things that are happening, the fact that we're having this event, this is all starting to show on this innovation side. This is from The Economist. And I thought this is a very interesting statement from a prestigious magazine like Economist. The next Facebook is likely to be founded in India or Indonesia rather than some middle-aged America or doddery old Europe. So let me switch to this. So that's sort of a whole perspective over a long term. And the challenge of the human mind is that we tend to overestimate things in the short run, but underestimate things in the long run. So when we see the last couple of years of problems and paralysis, we tend to sort of extrapolate this too far into the future. But my belief is that demographically, from a standpoint of promoting entrepreneurship and all of these kind of things, there are a lot of very positive things that are happening. And I believe Kerala is going to be one of the states that's going to lead this revolution. So let me switch to the last part, which is talk a little bit about the future. I love this quote from Peter Drucker, because it really captures the essence of what's happening in these times. So let me take that extra 30 seconds and read it. And this is from, by the way, he wrote this before the internet. So he says, within a few short decades, society rearranges itself, its worldview, its basic values, its social and political structures, its arts, its key institutions. 50 years later, there's a new world, and the people born then cannot even imagine in the world in which their grandparents lived, into which their own parents were born. We are currently living through such a transformation. I mean, these kind of transformations happen, the balance of power shifts, the distribution of wealth shifts. The fact that you're getting so many people with massive amounts of wealth is really a testament to this particular phenomena he's talking about. Of course, prediction is very difficult, but I'm going to take a crack at it anyway. So here's a kind of a little bit of number crunching I did just to give you a realization that because this knowledge information economy, how much new wealth is being created. So before the gold prices went up, I had done this in 2005, but basically the value of infotech companies in the US equaled all of the gold mined since the beginning of human civilization. I mean, that's just give you a sense of. So what does this mean? Where are the opportunities in the future? I think the two of the biggest areas where biggest amount of fund any society resources go, and they're both knowledge intensive. It's going to be education is the first one. Now, obviously, I don't need to tell to this audience. You all know that there's so much happening in the education sector. Particularly, I think more and more as content wants to be free. I mean, I'm just giving an example of the MOOCs, the massively online education, and it's started to happen in India. Also, we had one of the speakers yesterday that talked about this, how they're doing in this MOOCs area. But education generally is going to be a knowledge-intensive sector that you're going to see lots and lots of different opportunities. And particularly, I think the whole mobility and education is going to really come together in very, very different ways. And I know there's a lot of conversation in some of the panel sessions about mobility. Let me just say this, that I think up to this point in the mobility sector, the thinking was that what did we do on the PC? And let's see if we can do it on the iPad or Android's tablet and so on and so forth. But I think I'm starting to see, particularly the fact that I live in Silicon Valley, I see a lot of these things. People are thinking of, really, the way to think is not think in terms of what we did on a computer or a PC or something of that kind, but just to think fresh. Think about, here's a new tool, what do we do with this thing? And that's where the real, real innovation is taking place. So education is one area. In fact, if you are early stage startup, there's a wonderful course on Udacity called How to Build a Startup, one of the best courses I've seen, and it's free. The second one, again, is a kind of just a weird example, but healthcare is going to be revolutionized, whether it's the wireless medical devices or biotechnology. This is just from the last years of the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. This is I thought this is really cute. It's a smart fork. So what happens is that if you are eating too fast, the fork starts to shake, and it slows you down from eating. So there's I mean, it's a gimmickry thing, but the fact is that again, it's all sort of working on the healthcare arena. So that's kind of a briefly talking about those three things on this late afternoon. Thinking entrepreneurially, India and obviously Kerala, place in the sun, a quick peek into the future. I'm going to wrap up. How many of you are TiE members here? Okay, and how many aren't TiE members? Let's go the other way. So about half and half, roughly. So I think if there's a reason to sort of think about TiE, I want to share with you my closing story about a boy and a starfish. So it's a story about a man who was walking along the beach, and from a distance he saw this boy picking up something from the ground and throwing it into the ocean, and pick something up again, throw it into the ocean, and he couldn't figure out what he was doing. And as he walked closer, he noticed that there was hundreds of thousands of starfish that were beached, and he was just throwing them back into the ocean. And he asked the kid, he said, look, there's so many of these starfish, what difference are you going to make? And the boy picked up one more starfish, threw it into the ocean, and said, you know what, I made a difference to that one. And I think if you are a TiE member, and if you identify with this man, or you identify with the boy, or you identify with the starfish, TiE's for you. So those of you who are still thinking about things, I want to close with my final quote, or quip, actually. A good friend of mine was a professor. He said, they should put a clock on the top of the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And I said, well, why do you want a clock on top of the Leaning Tower of Pisa? And he said, well, what's the point having inclination if you don't have time? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the light-hearted, informative, and inspiring talk, sir. As a token of our appreciation, I know you have a flight to catch, so we're going to do this a little early for you. I request Shri A.V. George to present a memento to Mr. Agarwal. So he just said that he apologizes for running off. He has a flight to catch in a very short time. Thank you so much. So I now request Mr. Rajesh Nair, who is the Associate Director for Markets at Ernst & Young, to present a roundup of the events from the last 2 days. Rajesh?
So it was an amazing 2 days, right? I think if I can think of 3-4 words, just pure words to say about what we've seen in the last 2 days is, one is momentum. We saw a huge amount of momentum of people. We saw motion around, a lot of movement, a lot of people talking to each other, a lot of positive energy. in terms of hopes, in terms of questions about what they should be doing, about questions about their companies, questions to mentors, questions to pitches, questions to investors around. So we saw a lot of positive energy and questioning there. We saw a lot of enthusiasm, especially amongst the younger folk when they attended some of these lectures. And I think all these three aspects really do sum up some of the broad aspects that we tried to cover in the last 2 days. And as I said last year as well, this is perhaps one of the heavily loaded executive MBA programs that you can get most cheaply in any place in the world. We had close to, in fact, the statistics is we had close to 101 speakers and one Shruti Panikar, and we had 100 new members register in the last 2 days, and we had close to 1,082 is the number. That's the number of delegates that we had for this year's conference. If I look at the tracks, we had entrepreneurship track running in this hall, and we had some absolutely amazing sessions. We had some rock stars on stage. We had Ganesh, Rajiv Madhavan discussing with Mr. Panikar, and then subsequently we had the three veterans. In fact, we had the three veterans earlier being interviewed, and a lot of you, if you had time to catch some television in the evening, it was shown in a lot of channels, and a lot of excitement about what they said and recounted there. And I think Johnny Lucas really made a difference by asking questions perhaps some of us entrepreneurs would not have asked, and that really made the entire session a lot more interesting. We had the technical tracks, and while all the tracks went very smoothly, I must say, we had introduced genomics this year, and we had a lot of interest in that new track. Women entrepreneurship track, again, we tried this year, and this was again another. I think a quick message to all of you, all of us men, if you look around, you see a lot less women out here. I'm sure that number is increasing, and it's more number of women than last year. And these are the women who are going to run this world tomorrow, and that's the trend which is happening around. And my request to especially the younger generation of men out here is please take them seriously, because they're likely to be your bosses in the future. And for the women, please take yourself seriously, because you are stepping into those larger roles in the future. We had the IT track, and I must say last year again, IT track was a big crowd puller, and I think we realized that we need to have a larger space for that, because at least in the current scenario, that's the industry everyone is talking about, and rightly so. Again, it was a huge rock band, not just rock stars. We had a rock band on stage, and it was amazing. So, as we say, the piece de resistance, as the French say, the great pudding of perhaps some of the tracks was the IT track that we saw in the morning, which effortlessly moved into 2.5 hours. The mentoring and pitch fest, I must admit that I was pleasantly surprised by the response that we got from young entrepreneurs. We saw a lot of people coming and asking questions about their business. We saw a lot of students coming and debating on some of the ideas which they have, and what are the funding options of some of these ideas, and that itself was an amazingly interesting thing that we noticed across these sessions. And one thing we have promised, and I have promised on behalf of TiE, is especially the pitch fest and the mentoring sessions, we will have it a lot more frequent, and we will not wait for a TiEcon to do some of those. And we will perhaps have those standalone half-day events or one-day events where we will have the VCs and the angels sitting and listening to some of these pitches and giving advice on what they need to do with their business plan, or ask them questions about their own respective ideas. The award function, I think this is the first year that we did it, and we are overwhelmed by the response. We were slightly worried because a first year award, we didn't know how people would take it, but it was taken really well. And we will of course have a much wider format where we will invite applications next year, and make it a much more robust process per se, since we have seen a lot of interest in that, and it will be an annual affair as well. If I look at some of the individual speeches which remained with me, is I thought the Chief Minister's speech in the morning was very well drafted and equally well executed. And he really set the pace for the entire 2 days by saying all those positive things and very interesting similes of looking at a startup entrepreneur as a politician. And I thought some of them were really interesting. We had Ashok Rao again amazing the audience like last year. Last year it was innovation, this year it was the power of one. And very inspiring, and of course the poem at the end. Dr. Bernard Harris's lecture, the true feedback, if you listen to some of the students who listened to him yesterday, they were completely enamored, you know. For those of you who remember your past days, I mean, I think when somebody asked me what I want to be when I was 5 years old, I said astronaut, and I'm sure a lot of us sitting out here would have said that, you know, we want to be an astronaut or go to space, some such. And today we saw somebody sitting and talking to us and standing and showing us pictures of space, which maybe at that age we thought we would do once, but it was living that pleasure completely vicariously, and you know, absolutely amazing to hear somebody completely different from what normal experiences we hear about. We also heard about the instrumented, the interconnected, and the intelligent world again in the IT track. I thought that essentially gives you a flavor of what the digital entrepreneur is all about. Talking of cultures, I heard this very interesting example of how the culture of entrepreneurship is changing in Kerala. And somebody drew a simile to the Malayalam movies. And somebody said that, so who was the hero in the Malayalam movie in 1970s? The hero in the Malayalam movie in the 1970s was the laborer or the union leader. So if you look at Prem Nazir, if you look at Jayan, if you look at some of the other actors during those days, they were all union leaders or vibrant activists, etc. The villain was always the entrepreneur. The villain was the businessman. And that was what Balan K. Nair was doing. That was what Jose Prakash was doing, wearing the Western clothes and doing all the wrong things, but running their businesses as well. And the heroines, a lot of heroines were daughters of the villains, but they would eventually go with the hero who was the trade union leader. And if you see that shift in movies today itself, I guess that itself is like a, like a revelation that we don't think that entrepreneurship is a bad word. Last year, I said in the conference summary that in the conference last year, we did a rough calculation. We thought entrepreneurship was spoken, that word entrepreneurship was spoken every 3 seconds. I think perhaps today the state is speaking that word entrepreneurship perhaps in every 3 seconds or every 5 seconds. And that's the impetus that entrepreneurship has got. We've all heard about angels. I want to recount a very short story of, there was this Norwegian couple who was in India, and they were visiting, and we met them at Brunton Boatyard, and they wanted somebody to read out a brochure which they had in Malayalam, and I was sitting with my family across, and they came over, and I was fresh learning how to read Malayalam, so I experimented. Essentially, they wanted to know about the Padmanabha Swami Kshetram, and so this lady who spoke really good English, she said that, so she was asking me what I was doing out here. I said, I work here, come set up office out here, and we're hoping for good times out here. And she said something very interesting. She said, the sign of finding so much of gold in one of your temples is perhaps God's way of telling you that all the treasures of the world are here. You don't need to go out. You don't need to search your luck anywhere else. All the treasures in the world and more are available in the state itself. And I thought that was something which really sums up what we have seen, especially in the last 2.5 years. And again, the KFC lecture, I think a lot of us know a lot less of government schemes. And I had the opportunity to sit in their 60th anniversary function last week, their Diamond Jubilee, where the Venture Capital Fund was announced and the KSADM schemes were announced. I would urge a lot of youngsters looking for funds to please look at some of these schemes which are available. It's not the government, it's not the government organization which doesn't want to give you money, which is there. It's completely, it's a completely open set of people with skills which will invite you to go there and present some of your business plans as well. So please explore some of the options that the state gives you as well. The Chief Secretary is here. We've mentioned this in several occasions as well. Bharat Bhushan sir, we will always be happy to help out as an organization to helping in drafting anything related to entrepreneurship, whether it's policies or a roadmap, etc. What was also interesting is what you see in these corridors in the last, or what you saw in the corridors in the last 2 days. There was a lot of knowledge dissemination happening, whether it was near the water cooler where people were collecting water in those plastic glasses and sipping water, and again talking about sectors and talking about all those interesting things that they saw out here, and even at the machine, talking about what they saw of entrepreneurship out here. And really, it was really exciting to hear networking happening in every phase out here, people exchanging cards, pumping hands, making new contacts, exchanging ideas. And I think that's what a conference like this provides, a lot of opportunity even outside the main halls or the rooms to interact and to develop and enhance yourself. Since I mentioned one thing, we had 101 speakers, and I said we had one Shruti Panikar, sorry for the Nair bias. I think she was amongst the speakers who spoke the most, and we are really grateful that we had a facilitator who was sailing in and blending in and moving out and in and out and running this entire program at one level. And we wish her a happy life and an illustrious business career. At the end, it amounts to this: that 5 minutes before you go to sleep in the night, you see all those images that you unconsciously have during the day, and some of these images, which I'm sure a lot of you will see, will have a lot of palpable energy. Will have the desire, will have the faces that you saw, the desire for wealth creation. You will see the faces of that 21-year-old who came to you and showed his card and said that he's CEO of a startup firm. I'm sure a lot of you would have met a lot of them today. And the hope of an emerging Kerala which has a huge amount of opportunity for entrepreneurs. And we will move one step closer to our mission of having an entrepreneur in every house, in every home in Kerala by 2020. Thanks a lot. I'm sure we may not meet before. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all of you. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Nair, for doing such a fabulous job, really bringing out the essence of last 2 days. I thought it was really well done. I would next like to introduce our guest for the evening, Mr. E.K. Bharat Bhushan. He is currently the Chief Secretary of the Government of Kerala, as you all already know. He's a postgraduate in English literature, and he earned his master's in public administration from Harvard University in '92. He was also an Edward Mason International Fellow at Harvard University, a Kerala cadre IAS officer of the 1979 batch. Mr. Bhushan commenced his civil services career as the sub-collector, Perindalmanna, and went on to become the district collector of Malappuram. He has also served as the chairman and managing director of various corporations under state PSUs and is credited with having turned around Kerala Minerals and Metals Limited, the largest state PSU. He was deputed as joint secretary in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India. He has also served as secretary and principal secretary in various departments like Forest, Tourism, Devaswams, Health, General Administration, so on and so forth. Subsequently, he worked as Joint Secretary in the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology and Ministry of Civil Aviation, Government of India. He has also served as the Director General of Civil Aviation, where he was instrumental in implementing numerous reforms enabling safer air travel. Prior to his posting as the Chief Secretary of the Government of Kerala, he was the Special Secretary in the Ministry of Steel, Government of India. I now request Shri Bharat Bhushan to address the gathering. Sir.
Dignitaries on the dais. Delegates, ladies and gentlemen. We are now at the fag end of the 2-day session, and I'm basically standing before you representing my state government in order to express my solidarity with what you're trying to do. You will not find the Kerala government wanting in any assistance or any kind of sense of cooperation which you might need in your ventures. I have not had any exposure to what TiE is doing, TiEcon. I'm told that this is the second time you're holding it in Kerala. I have had some exposure to startups in the sense that I was, for about a year, I also held charge of STPI as its Director General. So incubation and other activities we were trying to do in several of our centers. But I see that in the last 1 year, particularly as the Chief Minister was declaring to us last 1 or 2 years, there's a lot of care and attention being devoted to this very important part. As we all know, Kerala has a somewhat difficult reputation when it comes to brick and mortar industries. I distinctly remember about 15 or 20 years ago when I was 15 years ago when I was Secretary Industries, I proudly introduced myself at a function in Delhi to a foreign diplomat who was indeed a keen observer of India. And I told him that I am the Principal Secretary Industries. And he said, Principal Secretary Industries from Kerala, is it somewhat like the Chief of Navy of Nepal? So fundamentally, I don't think we can have joined this race for setting up factories. As someone was commenting, Mr. Nair was commenting, the perception of the entrepreneur or as a capitalist doesn't quite help when it comes to public perceptions in this state. But I think slowly it's changing, and you are the people who are making it change. The other day I had been to the startup village here. I could see so many bright people who are sitting down and availing themselves of the plug-and-play facilities which the government has set up there. It was on this cue that the Honorable Chief Minister who addressed you yesterday described to you what we are trying to do in terms of developing entrepreneurship. We have declared, as you know, this as an entrepreneurship year. We have big plans, both with regard to incubation and several other facilities which are planned in Kalamasheri. My IT secretary must have also described to you our plans, so I don't want to go through all that. It's only that what you're doing now is it's a timely move in the sense that the Kerala government is extremely conscious of its potential. I was also very intently listening to. It also helped that I don't think I was expected to come in the morning, but being a holiday, I just couldn't resist coming here and just keeping my eyes and ears open. So there's the panel discussion which went on in the morning. It is an unbelievable kind of, both from the perception of people who are representing huge corporations and those who have just set up and have learned how to proceed on the road ahead. So it is indeed an engrossing kind of session. So similarly, I'm sure we have a great distance to cover, and I'm sure the lessons we have learned in the last few days, not only in the seminar room, but also outside while we talk to each other, particularly my young friends who are here, must have benefited a lot. Again, I would like to request the organizers that kindly give us a draft roadmap, specifically hinting at things. There is no shortage for paper in government, so kindly make it brief, because we all get a little tired of leading long notes. So we will certainly take it up, and I would like to, as head of the government executive, I would like to promise that I'll certainly do whatever is possible from my side. Good wishes to all of you, gentlemen.
Sorry to come back to again, that is not in the agenda. And also it was one of the shortest of speeches that we have heard, but very effective. Thank you very much, sir. I am here standing before you to talk about a person whose presence of mind as well as endeavors had immensely helped this whole deliberations into a very joyous and successful event. And that is none other than Shruti Panikar. Shruti happens to be the daughter of Mr. N.R. Panikar, who in the last 2 weeks was only eating, sleeping, and dreaming TiEcon, in spite of the fact that he was negotiating the sale of some part of his company to a Japanese company. I used to be getting every 5 minutes, 6 minutes calls, SMSs, and mails telling that, what about this, what about that? And you also know that he has been instrumental in bringing so many of the distinguished speakers. Two individuals who stand out is one is Mr. Panikkar and Mr. V.K. Matthews, who had really, as Rajesh was telling, that brought in all the rock stars of the IT into this hall. And we must definitely admit that Shruti has all that going to become an entrepreneur of the caliber. I think I should call him an industrialist now, because he no longer is an entrepreneur, Mr. Panikkar. So industrialist. Shruti also will step into the father's footsteps one of these days. And preparing that, she is right now in ISB, Indian School of Business at Hyderabad. When we were discussing about having for the main ceremonies and the function in the hall, master of ceremonies, we discussed many names. Finally, we took the courage to call up Shruti and tell Shruti, can you take 2 days of leave from ISB Hyderabad and come over? And then we talked to Panikkar. And he, as a benevolent father, actually took care of her tickets from that place to this and back. And here she is. So I would request Shruti to come onto the stage. And I would request our chief guest, Mr. Bharat Bhushan IAS, to hand over a small plaque to Shruti for all that good contribution that she has done to this event. Please receive. And a small gift that AVG will give. Mr. A.V. George will hand over a small gift to... okay, sir, you can hand over, please, sir, no problem. Yeah, Ms. George, you hand over, sir. A small gift to Shruti. One more round of applause. No taxes for the applause, actually. I also want to take a word of appreciation in favor of Ms. George Kora, who is chartered accountant and also part of our TiE, who had taken up all the peripheral sessions with the help of 3 masters of ceremony and done a wonderful job. And as a chartered accountant and accountant that he is, as soon as his work is done, he went home and he didn't stay back. So a word of appreciation for George Kora as well. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.